This is about what the sequel trilogy would have been like if George had done it himself. And I think he should have just done it before he sold Lucasfilm, because they would not be able to touch the main characters and, allow degenerates to squat on them like Disney did at the time. The idea for the sequels that he came up with, beautiful. I mean, it's positive. It's Star Wars. It's deep into the lore. So the fans who are really into it would actually get to experience some of the things that were merely talked about. In fact, the Wills were even going to show up. So here's what it was. You have Kira Solo and her brother Sammy. The bad guy is Darth Maul and his apprentice, Darth Talon, and Leia is leading the Republic. And that was basically what George wanted. He wanted her to ascend to be the leader and actually, quote unquote, be the chosen one, even though it doesn't make any sense to me. So we have Kira and Sammy, and they go off on an adventure with the Millennium Falcon and their father, Han Solo, to look for Luke. And Kira wants Luke to train her to be a Jedi. And Sammy obviously is just, he's a normal guy. Han Solo is not the drunk deadbeat dad that J.J. Abrams and John Kasdan, or Lawrence Kasdan created. He is with his kids, while Leia's doing her thing. He's, herding the squirrels, as I like to say. And he's being a good father, the bad guys. Darth Maul again, Darth Talon. Darth Talon has a thing where she can seduce Jedi and then she kills them. And they're the bad guys. They're basically leading a criminal empire against the Republic, the New Republic. And they are the villains in this. And, in the end, Luke is going to have to get in a fight with one of them. Or something like that. And, Luke is off on his own. He's in solitude. But to me, it doesn't look like he's being selfish and a coward. Mark Hamill has alluded to what this story would have been, that Luke was so worried his power would hurt people around him, so he kept to himself. Leia and Han are reunited at the end. Nobody dies. Happy ending. That's George Lucas. It's positive. And to be honest, people need positivity in their lives, right? We need good messages about relationships, about families, etc. And there's nothing woke about any of this. No deadbeat, drunk dad, Han Solo, and Leia. But let's talk further.
They really didn't understand what the word graffiti meant.
They didn't. The studio executives generally are not the most sophisticated people in the world. And you will find that if you go to Hollywood. I hope you don't, because you don't want to be oppressed by people who are not as smart as you are. And I'm dumb.
Argle, gargle, google, goo.
What?
Now you know how it feels. What are you talking about?
Problem with this is, as George alluded to, film executives, studio executives are idiots. They're stupid. And when he sold Lucasfilm with the promise he would be part of it, they would take what he had put together for the sequel trilogy and they would run with it. They pushed him out and decided they wanted to turn a profit real quick. So what they did was they hired Michael Arndt, who wanted to take 2 years and use a lot of what George wanted to put in there. And Kathleen Kennedy herself says in the video that's attached in the description here that 2 years is too long. And they wanted to flip it. And what I mean by flip, it's like house flipping. They wanted to get money out of their purchase. So they hired J.J. Abrams, who's basically the Grim Reaper of franchises and has been Lawrence Kasdan, and they wrote The Force Awakens. Now, everything we thought was going to happen, that the trio would be reunited, it would be a great time. When you walk out of a movie like this, the first part of the trilogy, you should be jumping up and down and happy. Silence. Kids asking hard questions of their parents. That's not how you do Star Wars in the first part of it. But when you've got dollars over quality here, screaming about it's too deep in the lore, we don't want to do that. You're going to ruin everything, and they did. I mean, it took me a year to admit The Force Awakens is a piece of shit movie. Now, I know it made a lot of money. I don't care. Bottom line is it's garbage. The main characters from the original trilogy are totally wasted. I mean, wasted. It was criminal what they did. And, Iger and Alan Horn at the time proved George Lucas is right. Studio executives are stupid, but let's talk further.
Finding her niche.
No, I'm saying she's a dodo. Now, you may love a dodo. You may think the dodo is beautiful. You may even wish to marry the dodo. But you do not encourage a dodo to fly.
So, she was there, supposedly, lying to George about protecting his characters. She did no such thing. She didn't protect Han Solo from turning into a mockery of himself. She didn't protect Leia from the LGBTQ squatting bitches, the blue-haired land whales. She didn't protect Luke. I know Matt Bellamy has said she's not woke. Look at what happened. And it doesn't matter what movie. She was weak. She didn't stand up to Iger and Horn, saying Michael needs more time to finish a good script. I like what George did, and we need to respect it. But it's partly her fault what happened next.
What an odd combination of odors. Smells like a fish died and all the other fish sent flowers.
The trusty adage, starve a cold, disgust a fever.
The Grim Reaper of franchises. Not only did he destroy, or partially destroy Star Trek, he opened the door wide open to destroy Star Wars because he doesn't have any idea beyond what he can get out of it. And he didn't want to do either movie. Okay, he's not a fan. And that's fine. I mean, there have been directors out there that were not fans of movies and franchises that they were directing who did their due diligence and created masterpieces like The Wrath of Khan. And what we got was, from JJ in one, was a half-assed reboot of A New Hope. And in the next one was a sloppily put together end to a nonsensical trilogy. And he left the door wide open for this.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
It's not hard to watch The Last Jedi and not think of what a bully this man is. Rian Johnson is a leftist activist. He is a DEI, LGBTQ, feminazi, a little beta male. And I say that with I say that with conviction because I'm right. And what he did to the wide open door that JJ put in front of him was not only did he undermine what JJ wrote by killing off Snoke, he went after George Lucas in a mean-spirited way. And probably because he hates the prequels and he wanted to make a point, so he wanted to fuck with the OG, which is what he did. The Last Jedi is probably one of the worst movies I personally have ever seen in my life. The fact that its fans were around screaming that George said it was a beautifully filmed movie, that's a backhanded comment. It's like, well, he put lipstick on a pig, which is what he did. And I'm talking he being Rian Johnson. It set the standard for trash. And instead of uplifting people or making people want to see more, it made damn sure the next two movies actually didn't do well at all, and one absolutely flopped. I know everybody who sees the sequel trilogy hates this one the most, but it made it worse. You could have saved it, but hey, what do I know? Let's talk.
That is one big pile of shit.
So, we have the movie that came out after The Last Jedi, Solo: A Soy Wars Story. And right away, people are starting to ask questions. First off, who are they going to cast? And is the story going to be good? Nepotism reigned. John Kasdan writing the script, his father shows up to help. And this is the guy that gleefully killed off Han Solo in The Force Awakens. So, right away you're going to go, I'm not, no. Second of all, Harrison Ford is a type, right? And he's a movie star. You don't hire a lawn jockey to play Han Solo. When I watched it was on a bet by a friend of mine, so I fortified myself with a glass of wine and watched it, and I was horrified. When I can wear heels and I'm taller than the guy that's playing that role, there's something wrong here. No genuine masculine presence. He couldn't act. He needed an acting coach on the set. And that was just one of the many problems. To me, I'm so glad that Anthony Ingruber didn't get the role, because it would have hurt his career. And it's one of those things where, did it suffer because of TLJ? Likely, maybe. Or did it suffer because it was just a shitty movie? I think both explanations go together and dovetail well. The script is bad and they hired a lawn jockey, or if you want to say a garden gnome, to play a tall, lean, lanky, handsome character, and it just didn't work. But let's talk.
This is like what we understand to be Star Wars, like the idea that like that only came from George Lucas, that only George Lucas holds the key for what we understand to be Star Wars is just untrue. And I think the prequels are an excellent example of that. The idea that like when you're hiring a director, that everyone is sitting in there waiting for George Lucas and not for the person who's going to know to hire Ralph McQuarrie, that's the problem. That's the misogyny and the problem with the auteur myth as it stands today, because they're not thinking this is the person that will hire the right people, and this is the person that will be able to create the lookbooks and direct people to get them.
And of course, out of the many things that we got instead of George's ideas for the sequel trilogy, is this piece of DEI trash, the Trashulite. You can't look at the franchise right now and not acknowledge the fact that this show is garbage. It is absolute, utter garbage. And it's just, it defines the Kennedy era and it defines the Disney era. It defines what they thought was good for the trilogy and for the franchise. And it's got a 19% fan appreciation on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, the Pablo Hidalgos of the world would scream that it was Russian bots or it was being swarmed. We don't do that. The people, maybe, I'll acknowledge, maybe there were some bot action going on. But I don't know anybody except for crazy wokesters who liked it. I really, really don't. And no, Pablo, 20 years from now, people are going to look at it and not, re-look at it with positive eyes. No, we're not. It's trash. It's garbage. It's like looking at The Room and thinking, wow, 20 years later, what did we miss? It's so good. No, it's garbage. It is absolute, utter garbage, and it cost way too much money. They kicked Leslie Headland off of the project, and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni had to finish it. And their names are not anywhere near this. So it's the albatross around Kennedy's neck. And she can sit there and, trot around and scream about how great Andor was, but it only got 5 million viewers. And that's not a lot of people across the planet, across the Disney streaming services. So I put my hand out and go, okay, but this is why I bring up the original plans that George had for the sequels. Because had they done that and stuck to what he wanted, and he was involved, production and overseeing what was happening and reining in overzealous, quirky directors, I think we would have had a potentially monumental end to the Skywalker saga, instead of, I'm Rey Palpatine and Kylo Ren, Daddy Butcher, okay, and the rest of this woke shit. I mean, look, I'm gonna leave you guys with this. George's Museum in L.A., the one narrative film, he fired the woke director of it, and now he's doing it himself. All right, that's how woke he is. You can be a Democrat and look at these people and go, you're fucking crazy. All right, because they are. And, he wouldn't have put up with that. So, this is where Star Wars is because of everything George said about film studio executives. They're stupid. They're not as smart as the creatives. And the sequel trilogy, and The Acolyte, and even Andor, and Kennedy's meddling in the Book of Boba Fett proves it. All right? And they have to do something to fix what they broke before they go anywhere else. This is Steph signing out. See you around the galaxy.